Uh-oh. Femke Hermans versus O'Shea Jones for what was Femke's IBF title. Let's talk about the fight. That played out as I predicted. I predicted O'Shea Jones would be able to lift the blue belt from Femke Hermans, though not without struggling. Strong start for the challenger. In the opening stanza, you could see that O'Shea was fast and strong and fresh, but Femke Hermans is battle-tested, durable. She was able to hang tough in the opening rounds, and then you start to see head clashes. Mid-range to inside, more than one. Those head clashes were affecting O'Shea Jones going into the mid-rounds where she started to slow down. The pace was catching up to her because this was a considerable step up for her. From veteran journeywoman Simone de Silva to Femke Hermans, a reigning champion, that's a big jump. So even though O'Shea Jones got off to a strong start, the pace was catching up to her. Femke Hermans' experience was shining through. And those head clashes. As a result of Femke Hermans falling in when she tries for a punch, there was more than one, and you could see that was bothering O'Shea Jones in the mid-rounds where she started to slow down. Things are getting chippier, mid-range to inside. There are a lot more clinches, a lot more wrestling. It's messier. So right around the time that O'Shea Jones starts to slow down, that's when Femke Hermans starts to come on, putting pressure on the challenger. Trying for a lot of punches, Femke Hermans was not gun-shy throughout the course of this fight. She was letting her hands go too, though not always very accurate. Though capable, periodically switching stances from orthodox over to southpaw, back to orthodox. I'd say out of the 10, the most I could give Femke Hermans was 3 or 4 rounds. It's in round 9 that O'Shea Jones catches her second win by changing levels mid-range to inside, slipping and countering, rolling and countering, catching Femke Hermans with some regularity mid-range to inside in between the punches. And she was landing hard, snapping Femke Hermans' head back. You hear it all the time. It's the punches you don't see that hurt the most, and when you're getting caught in between a combination, that amplifies the damage. Surmising the action, O'Shea got off to a strong start, faded a little down the stretch, but caught her second wind towards the end. Finished strong. Putting on display the movement, the countering, and the defense I expected in the pocket. That just so happens to be O'Shea Jones' sweet spot where her aggressive approach services her the best. This was a tough out. And a big jump. Big step up in class from a veteran journeywoman in Simone de Silva to a reigning champion in Femke Hermans. A clear example of talent versus experience, as O'Shea Jones would have to be pretty talented to take on Femke Hermans at just, what was it, 6-0, 7-0? Consider what happened to Mary Spencer. It was a disaster. She, like O'Shea Jones, was an unbeaten up-and-comer going in, a confident one, a strong one, with a decorated amateur background, but when she fought that same Femke Hermans, it all went wrong. So for them to thrust O'Shea Jones into that same situation at only 6 or 7-0, she better be good. And she was. 6-4 to 7-3 in favor of O'Shea Jones is how I had it. She's IBF champion now, and the training wheels have come off. What about her fading down the stretch? I don't actually think O'Shea Jones has a gas tank issue. I chalk that up to inexperience, and the only remedy for that is more fights, more 10-rounders, and more rounds in the bank. That'll sort that out. She has to get used to fighting in those 10-rounders, and she's got to get used to fighting girls who can push back. like Femke Hermans. I think she should before she targets another champion, another alphabet title. Slovenia's own Emma Kozin, she's got two. She's currently got the WBC and the WBO title, and Mary Spencer, who I just mentioned, she's got the WBA. O'Shea just picked up the IBF yesterday, and maybe she should have one or two more fights before she targets another champion, maybe get some more experience. I think she can go undisputed at this weight. I think in time she can beat Emma Kozin, she can beat Mary Spencer, but you don't want to jump the gun. Capping off this year as a world champion, fighting under the OTX banner. OTX got her to the title. We'll see what else they get her to in the coming year. Congratulations to her. The prediction stuck. She's IBF champion.
But is he fighting Zepeda in February?
No. So Zepeda suffered an injury.
Okay.
All right. So he hurt his hand. He suffered an injury. So we're looking to see when we can reschedule that. But that's the fight Zepeda wants.
Not the least bit surprised, ladies and gentlemen. Not the least bit surprised. Because up until this point, I wondered whether or not Oscar De La Hoya would let William Zepeda go through with this thing, or would he find a way out? And it seems that he has. Now, William is injured. So what does this make? 2 times that William had a reason not to fight Shakur? Remember that there was a proposed matchup that was supposed to go down before this year is out, but the story was that William couldn't fight because his wife was pregnant or something like that. He had time to fight Tevin Farmer, though. Now that he was supposed to be facing Shakur early next year, presumably in February, oh, now he's injured. Now he can't fight because he hurt his hand. You don't believe him? No. You know how skeptical I am. Cynical when it comes to these injuries and the timing of them, because the timing is impeccable. It's not that I think William Zepeda himself is afraid of Shakur Stevenson per se. I don't think William is scared. I think William's team is scared. William's promoter is scared, not William himself. What are they afraid of? Shakur doesn't throw that many punches, and he doesn't even punch hard. You will have heard me say it myself several times, that William Zepeda has the right style for the job, the right output, to give a pure boxer like Shakur Stevenson a lot of problems. But you will have also heard me say that if he forgoes this fight, it could be because of what happened in the last one, or what didn't. VADA testing, folks. Anti-doping testing. Boxing Beats and Rhymes, one of my favorite channels here in the YTBC, did a video about it and how the popular periodicals in the boxing world, the boxing media, is not giving that story the attention that it deserves. That Tevin Farmer is saying that part of his contract to fight William, there was supposed to be anti-doping testing, and leading up to the fight and after it, there was none. Zero. And nobody's really talking about it as much as they would if it were, say, a Matchroom show and Eddie Hearn was involved. It didn't even dawn on me until Boxing Beats and Rhymes highlighted that that was supposed to be a WBC interim title fight for Williams' WBC interim title, but it wasn't for 12 rounds. It was only scheduled for 10. What if the WBC interim title wasn't actually on the line? Huh? What if the reason they scheduled the fight for 10 instead of 12 is because underneath it all, the interim title wasn't on the line? And what if the interim title wasn't on the line so that they could forego anti-doping testing? What if? There has to be a reason that Tevin Farmer is saying what he's saying. It all ties together. And there has to be a reason that Golden Boy Promotions and Williams handlers keep finding ways out of this Shakur Stevenson fight when seemingly Shakur is no threat to him. You're not under threat of being knocked out by Shakur Stevenson or overwhelmed by Shakur Stevenson. Stylistically, the fight actually favors William. And yet, William's team keep finding ways around it. So maybe it's not Shakur they're trying to find a way around so much as the anti-doping testing, because you might have been able to pull a fast one on Tevin Farmer, but you can't do that to Shakur because he's the champion. He's the A-side to you. In one of Oscar De La Hoya's Clapback Thursday segments, I heard him say that he's going to push for an 18 by 18 ring. But it's not up to Oscar De La Hoya or William Zepeda to dictate terms to Shakur. You're trying to dictate terms to the reigning champion. Sandbagging it. And then they come out with this bit about an injury, some kind of an injury, quote unquote, that William Zepeda suffered. I'm not buying it. It's bullshit. I don't think he's injured. They just need an alibi, an excuse for William not to go through with that fight. And now that he isn't, What is he gonna do? Because you don't walk away from a title shot with Shakur and do another one with somebody else. Gervonta Davis is fighting Lamont Roach. Denis Berinchyk is supposed to be fighting Keyshawn Davis. Vasyl Lomachenko, he's courting retirement. The only available champion for you to fight in the near future is Shakur. And clearly, either you don't want to fight him or your team doesn't want you to fight him. And I don't think it's because of how dangerous he is. It's because you can't dictate terms to him. It's a title fight. For a full title, there's gonna be anti-doping testing.
Nowhere to run.
Listen, I like William. I prefer William's fights over Shakur's. Shakur's fights are painfully boring, but this doesn't boil down to preference. This is not what this is about.
I might even think that William can give Shakur a lot of problems, but it doesn't matter how you evaluate a fight when the fight doesn't happen.
Outwardly, they say that he's injured, but it looks to me like this is a duck. Plain and simple. I like to think of myself as being even-tempered, understanding, but this is the second time they found a way around this fight. Same way I was suspicious of Jarrell Miller years ago, and whatever he might have been on, is the same way I've become suspicious of William now. They're hiding something.
He don't pay no bills around here, so I ain't gonna pull no punches.
Looks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's a duck. Very simple.
What'd you make of Bivol and Beterbiev, who you felt won in that fight?
To be honest with you, I think when it comes more down to boxing, I think Beterbiev-Bivol won that fight. From probably when it comes to damage, Beterbiev was probably landing the harder blows. But you know what? I feel like Bivol did enough to win the fight. You know what I mean? And it was a great fight. At the end of the day, the people in boxing won, and it's a great fight, and we get to see it again. And then after that, hopefully, I get the winner.
Do you expect for Bivol to win the rematch, or do you think there'll be adjustments for Beterbiev that he ends up winning again?
I don't know. To be honest with you, that's only questions that those men can answer. But if Bivol, if it's the same exact fight, I see Bivol winning. But unless they rob it again, there's really nothing you could do.
David feels like Beterbiev-Bivol was robbed.
No, I don't agree with that, and I actually picked Dimitri to win that fight. I felt it could have swung either way. You could have swung it to Dimitri, you could have swung it to Artur. The judges swung it to Artur.
But it's not a robbery. Underneath it all, I feel that David said what he said because if he has to fight the winner of that fight, he would prefer that it be Dimitri than Artur. He doesn't have any fanciful sparring stories about Artur like he does Dimitri. Not that sparring sessions or sparring stories are any premise to forecast the outcome of a fight, but we know that David has them.
And I think, underneath it all, he would prefer to fight Dimitri if he has to fight the winner of that fight.
Is that the plan if you're successful here to push for an undisputed fight with the winner of that rematch?
Not if I'm successful, but when I'm successful, that's what I'm going to be trying to get. I was kind of preparing myself mentally for a fight with Beterbiev or Bivol. You know what I mean? So that's why when this fight, when I called the promoter and I asked for the fight, I was already mentally ready. I know a lot of people were, thinking I was going to fight Jesse Hart and this and that, but I felt like we were trying to work out the details for this fight, and this fight's coming at the perfect time. I mean, he's young, he's champion. I'm young, I'm a champion. He has confidence, I have confidence. So this is going to be a throwback fight, and this is what we all want to see.
Now, as it pertains to the fight that David is about to have with the fighter that he's about to fight, David Morell, diatribes between David Benavidez promises to break David Morell's face. LA. David Benavidez and David Morell were mouthing off at each other behind the scenes before their kickoff press conference for their February 1st fight got underway at the Novo in downtown LA on Tuesday. Both Benavidez and Morell stood shirtless as they shot a promo and fired unpleasantries at each other. The heated dispute between the 175-pound interim title holders to undisputed champion Artur Beterbiev's crown then carried over for the public to see on camera. Morell has been talking about me for a while and disrespecting me, said Benavidez. He wanted to make it personal with me, so I'm personally gonna break his mouth. That'll give him something to remember me by. He knows what he said, and that's exactly what I needed to get me going for this fight. He thinks he's big and bad, but he's nothing. I'm gonna show him who's the best, Morell fired back. He has no idea what he's talking about, but he's provoking me, and now I want to go out there and beat the crap out of him, said Morell. I'm getting the knockout, 100%. He's all talk and no bite. He can't do what he thinks he's gonna do.
Most of the barbs up until this point have come from David Morell to David Benavidez because David Benavidez has been largely dismissive of David Morell throughout. He hasn't been interested.
So a lot of the insults and a lot of the trash talk have actually come from David Morell. Morell said the stoppage would come in the 8th round. Benavidez said that Morell didn't sound convinced or confident in his KO prediction. Benavidez 29-0 with 24 KOs, and Morell 11-0 with 9 KOs will trade the verbal jabs and haymakers for real punches when they meet in a light heavyweight showdown at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas on Prime Video pay-per-view. These are the type of fighters that I want to fight, said Benavidez. I want to face the guys who think they're going to go in there and knock me out. He's never fought anyone like me, and I'm going to show everyone there's levels to this, which, as critical as I am of David Benavidez, that much is true.
This is a step up for David Morell, who only has 11 fights.
I want the props that I deserve when I beat the crap out of him. I love that he's confident. I love facing guys like this. It's not time to play anymore. It's time to see who the best David is. I want to show everyone where I stand. I want to take over and show everyone I'm the most ferocious fighter out there. Benavidez, a former 2-time super middleweight champion, was originally supposed to face Jesse Hart, but he took a major leap in difficulty of opposition to take on Morell for his second dance at 175.
So the rumors were true?
I guess so. I guess he was supposed to take on Jesse Hart, but he decided to go with David Morell. Why? If he was so dismissive for at least a year or 2 years, what made him change his mind?
You can't bill Benavidez versus Hart as the main event of a pay-per-view.
For $80, you can't sell that. But Benavidez Morell, that's a little better.
Just a little?
The problem is that as good a fight as this is, a lot of people don't know David Morell. Benavidez and Morell both make their light heavyweight debuts to mixed results this summer. In June, Benavidez battled through hand injuries to score a UD against Alexander Vajdik. Benavidez landed 223 shots and ate 163 from the former title holder of Ukraine, who won 4 rounds on one scorecard. Morell, meanwhile, allowed an opponent to see the 12th round.
Morell won a decision, a labor decision.
Going to the cards for just the second time in his 5-year career in August, as Radovanje Kalajdzic won only 3 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards by clipping Morell with 102 punches and absorbing 134. I know it's not going to be an easy fight, but nothing is easy in life. I promise that I'm ready to.
He's ready to fight, said Morell.
Everybody says that Benavidez is the boogeyman and that no one wants to fight him, and I want to face the best. That's why I went straight for him.
It's a good fight.
I'd be lying to you if I told you that it wasn't, but it's not so good that it should cost this much. I can't stress that enough.
Acting as a segue for the winner to face either Artur Beterbiev or Beterbiev-Bivol, whoever wins their rematch when that happens.
But I'll say it now. I don't actually think the winner of Benavidez versus Morell is going to face the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol. Call it a hunch.
A gut feeling.
I mean, maybe if David Morell wins. If he wins, I could see him fighting the winner of that fight before I see David Benavidez fighting the winner of that fight.
I don't think he's serious.
And I never have. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, because first, we gotta see who wins this one.
Who do you think wins?